Just to check. Okay, fine.
Just to check.
Okay, fine. All set here. Uh, Over to Semal.
Sure, sir. The sparkle of fire is the witness of your worth. The silent flounce of water is the witness of your softness. A very good afternoon to all. We welcome our honorable judges and all the participants for the final rounds of War of Words, our first edition of National Online Debate Competition organized by Team in Light of Law in collaboration with Legal. The two teams chosen by the jury for contesting in final rounds are Team 111 and Team 114. Congratulations to both the teams. And the other teams who didn't qualify, please don't get disappointed as each of you has performed really very well. Carry on the spirit of learning and debating. With this, I would request my co-host, Ms. Semal Kundra, to further proceed. Over to you, Semal.
By debating real-world issues, students are introduced to the key controversies at the top of the public agenda. With the current coronavirus situation, we want to provide a resource for students to carry on the spirit of debate virtually. The flourishing teams, the finalists, you are requested to come up with your opening speeches. But remember, each participant is supposed to put on their cameras and mics throughout the session. Each speaker will get only 5 minutes for their opening speeches. Remember, there will be a negative marking for exceeding the prescribed time limit. To substantiate all the debaters' statement and to demonstrate a greater understanding of the topic, each team is allowed to ask a single question from their opponent team. Granting the rebuttal will be the sole discretion of judges. Usage of any electronic device, gadget, or book while speaking is not allowed. In the context of legal bureaucracies, the speakers must be frank but should not commit any contempt of any of the authorities headed by government. Usage of foul or obscene language could lead to disqualifications. Participants, be ready, brace up yourself, and keep calm. Let's start with the team 114, speaker 1 for the motion.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes,
Am I audible and visible?
you're not visible.
Yes, you are visible to me.
Okay, okay.
Can you please confirm if I'm audible and visible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay. I may start.
Please start.
I'm not a teacher. I'm not a history teacher, saint, philosopher, or a politician. But being a responsible citizen of this country today, I'm going to talk for the topic. We all know that seniority principle is often fiddled to benefit some. John G. Roberts Jr. has been Chief Justice of US Supreme Court since 2005, a post which he holds till date and is only impeached if he resigns. On contrastingly, India has had 13 Chief Justice in the same time, including today's Chief Justice. If we continue like this, we may have 20 Chief Justice until the next 30 years. You might think, what is the problem if we have so many Chief Justice? The problem is nothing fruitful is happening. We all agree that Indian judiciary need reforms. The limited number of days of each CJI has to be at the disposition of which makes it addressable. Sometimes the chief justice is getting only 1 month as a tenure, whereas sometimes the chief justice is getting 5 years as a tenure, because we know that a chief justice has to retire at the age of 65. So this age criteria is not acting in the benefit of the natural justices, because it is being impartial for the judges. Example, take a judges who is retiring at the age of 65, and the successor is just of the age of 64. He will merely serve a tenure of 1 month. This is being totally impractical, because he needs time to just settle down in the whole institution. So I would like to, for a better understanding, let us compare these two CGIs. the CJI Barucha sir and CJI Rajendra Babu sir. Barucha sir has been serving for CJI for the days of 185 days, whereas Rajendra Babu sir was served as a CJI just for 29 days. So let us compare the tenure of this Chief Justice. Firstly, there is a sharp contrast between the days for which the Barucha served for 128 days, whereas Babu served just for 28 days, which is merely even a single month. So both the CJIs have been ruled out favorable landmark judgments in their tenure. But if we see the landmark judgments and the administrative processes, Barucha sir, who served for 185 days, was very efficient in administration, was very efficient in the case management handling. So what conclusion do we actually reach? We reach the conclusion that we need a fixed tenure. We cannot merely decide tenure on the base of seniority. So also the tenure and the fixed tenure allows the judges to act efficiently for the constitution. CJI is the highest body. So how the CJI is going to rule everything? He himself or herself need time to kind of adjust in the whole system. Every leader has different leadership styles to lead. So CJI also might have different perspectives. They might have different ideologies. The whole system has to adapt to these different ideologies and perspectives. And it is very difficult when the tenure is not fixed. So also we can say that Justice Barucha just not focused on administration. He also focused on going through various places and inculcating the legal education. This can be only done where they have enough time as the CJI. Let me mention little of the 14th Law Commission report, which states that every Chief Justice has to go to the country tour and has to meet the members of the bar and bench for better implementation of policies and understanding the problems at the root level. Do you all think it is possible if there is no fixed tenure? No, my dear friends, it is just not possible because ultimately we have seen in instances in our history where the CJI goes for the tour and until he comes back, his tenure is finished, he's retired. So how does it help in the efficiency? How does it help in the whole purpose of increasing the efficiency of the judiciary? So I feel that continuity is very important and is very essential, and we need a fixed tenure. I would like to quote the Attorney General here, where he states that the CJI comes to the power until he settles, he's retired. This is the whole contention. And also the whole body of collegium system, which is appointing the judges, is illegal, powers and unconstitutional. Yes, I know I'm making big statements here, but let me say why I'm making so. The process of appointment is not accountable at all, and it is inherently unconstitutional, undemocratic, because the public has no say in it. Seniority is not constitution, it is mere convention. Credibility over seniority is something we need to address today, and location of power is important. It is not who the power is with. So I would end my speech with a mere quote saying that Rome wasn't built in one day. To remind
Okay, your time is over, speaker.
time is needed to create something great. Thank you.
Okay. Now speaker 2 from team 111 speaking against the motion.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are. Please start.
A very warm good afternoon to one and all present here. Today, I will be speaking against the motion. I firmly believe that there should not be a fixed tenure for the office of Chief Justice of India. I would like to present 4 arguments to prove the same. My first argument is that a fixed tenure is unfair and discriminatory in its nature. It is unfair because it takes the opportunity from a lot of judges who do not have time or years by their side to hold the position of the Chief Justice of India. A very simple logic applies here. Say we keep a fixed tenure of 3 years as suggested by Attorney General K.K. Venugopal, or of 2 years as suggested by the former Chief Justice of India, P. Sthitasivam. Then all the judges who fall under the bracket of 64 or 63 years will simply not have a chance to become the Chief Justice of India because they do not have enough years by their side before their retirement, which is 65 years. So if we practically think, we are snatching away the opportunity to hold the office of Chief Justice of India from the most experienced judges. Now I have a question here. According to statistics, an average tenure of a Supreme Court judge is 4 to 5 years. Then how can we expect a minimum tenure of 2 to 3 years? This way, a lot of experienced judges would never even get to hold the office for a minimum time, for any period of time. My second argument is such a practice of keeping a minimum tenure is not in alignment with the current setup of promotion on the basis of seniority. Right now, the Chief Justice of India is the judge who is the most experienced in the Supreme Court. They are promoted on the basis of their experience and seniority. But if we were to bring a law or a policy which ensures minimum tenure, then experience would no longer be a topmost priority. The priority will become eligibility, and the priority will become number of years a judge has by his side or a judge has by her side, which will result to a lot of damage, because then we will be compromising experience and merit. It would imply a dilution in the collegium system of appointment and the predetermination of list of Chief Justices of India. My third argument is problem does not lie in the short time period. The problem lies in the change of priority with the change of Chief Justices. Short period does not matter. These are the words of the former Chief Justice of India, Justice Ranjan Gogoi. What he means by this is that the intention matters, not the time period. We cannot say that a judge would not be able to implement the law properly, or will not be able to bring judicial reforms of any significant manner just because he had less time in his office, because that is not true. We have seen many examples in the past where judges have had very less time in their hand, like Justice Khekar, who had a mere 240 days of journey but ended up giving landmark justice like the triple talaq judgment, the right to privacy judgment. So here, the moral obligation, the will and the intention, the enthusiasm of a judge matters, not the short time period which he has. So time period does not matter, but the intention to bring reforms, to bring judicial reforms, to bring a positive change in the society matters. My fourth argument is that the current system, which ensures that there is no minimum tenure, also ensures diversity in Chief Justices of India, which in turn ensures diversity of thoughts, diversity of ideologies, because more the interpretations we have of a law by different Chief Justices, the more there is a scope for improvement of the law, because we have to agree every mind works differently. So the more interpretations we have by different Chief Justices, we have a greater chance to understand the law better. A minimum tenure can and will lead to supremacy and redundancy in application and interpretation of law by just one judge for a very long time. To conclude, I would just like to say that a minimum tenure would be unfair and discriminatory in nature, because it will discriminate the judges on the basis of their age, which doesn't make any sense at all. At the same time, it is not in the alignment of the current process of promoting judges on the basis of their seniority, by which I mean experience, because then we would be snatching away the opportunity from the most experienced judges to hold the office. And no matter how short the time period is, it is the intention, the goodwill, the mindset that matters. If you want to bring a change, you can bring it in 29 days or 140 days. You don't have to have a 7-year or 6-year time
Okay,
period.
your time is over, speaker.
Thank you.
So now speaker 1 from team 111 speaking for the vote.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, may I start?
Yes.
Yeah, sure you can.
The American Supreme Court, which is 160 years old, has had 14 CJIs in all, whereas the Indian Supreme Court, which is just 70 years old, has seen 47 CJIs. If we continue like this, we may have 20 Chief Justices in the next 30 years. Good morning to one and all present here. Today, I will be speaking for the motion that there should be a fixed minimum tenure for the position of the Chief Justice of India. First, let's take a look at how the current system works. The CJI of India is promoted on the basis of seniority and the recommendation of the outgoing judge. CJI, irrespective of the tenure he may get, because once appointed, the Chief Justice remains in the office until the age of 65 years. Most of the Supreme Court judges get appointed in their late 50s, and only a few assigned to the role of CJI with a handful of days to leave the apex court. In such eventuality, most of the judges get a very short tenure as the CGI. Now let's look at the problems that come with it. Firstly, there's no hiding that the Indian judiciary needs reformation. Short and erratic tenure makes it impossible for a CGI to address the most significant issues that have arisen in the judicial system and come up with the required judicial reforms. By the time a CGI grasps the issues, the date of retirement arrives. As a result, the execution stays incomplete. Continuity is essential in the office of the CGI to render quality administration throughout the country. Secondly, the Law Commission of India had recommended that the Chief Justice tour the country and meet with different judicial personnel and bar members in order to understand their concerns. However, by the time the Chief Justice completes their tour, the tenure would be over. As a result, a term of 5 to 7 years was deemed necessary by the Law Commission of India to discharge the duties adequately. In a structure like ours, nothing happens overnight. For a CGI to accomplish something, the other players, such as the government, have to fall in line. And this takes time. India's 40th Chief Justice, Palaniswamy Sathasivam, had expressed his concerns 2 days before remitting office, and he said that because of a short tenure of 9 months and 8 days, there were many things that he wanted to do but couldn't. A Chief Justice of India in the last 2 decades has served for 30 months, with the shortest having served for a period of 17 days. This is plainly absurd. Now let's make a comparative analysis between the tenure of India's 30th Chief Justice, Justice Bharucha, who has served for 185 days, and India's 34th Chief Justice, S. Rajendra Babu, who had a tenure of 29 days. Of course, one cannot deny that several other factors may affect the efficiency and decision making of the apex court. However, the duration of the Chief Justice is an important one to consider. Now, both of them have authored a few landmark judgments, but Justice Bharucha, who had a longer tenure, managed to make administrative decisions as well, and also formed a permanent constitutional bench during his tenure. He also effectuated the computerization of cases for effective redressal of long pending matters. He also made a few visits to attend conferences and deliver lectures in some parts of the country, engaging with the bar members. This clearly shows how much of a difference a sufficient tenure of a CGI makes in the contribution of a CGI and the establishment of long-standing judicial reforms. The position of the CGI will see 6 occupants in the next 6 years. The appointment of the CGI in India has become a mere game of musical chairs, and the position has become a mere tick mark. A minimum fixed tenure would not only ensure that the CGI fulfills its duty to the best of its capabilities, but will also help in establishing long-standing judicial reforms. Thank you.
Okay. Now, speaker 2 from team 114 speaking against the motion. Please come up with your speech.
Yeah. I hope I'm audible and visible.
Yes, yes. Please
Right.
start.
So here I go. The day legislature involves with judiciary, that is the day when democracy is going to mark an end for itself. My greetings to everybody on the panel. Today, I shall put on my points as to why there should be no minimum or no fixed tenure for the Chief Justice of India's office. Let us take an hypothetical example here where there is an alternative system and there's a fixed tenure for the Chief Justice of India. Then what is the credibility of the system? I shall come to that a little later. But for now, let us dive into this hypothetical situation. What is going to be the system for selection? Because now age is not the criteria. We need to find some other criteria. So probably there's going to be handpicking. There's going to be some other criteria based on credibility, and who chooses this criteria for credibility? Or wait, when we are handpicking, I am getting a deja vu. Are we in the situation of emergency? Because this is exactly what happened in 1975. Indira Gandhi handpicked A.N. Ray to be the Chief Justice of India. Are we waiting for the time to get back to the times of emergency? Because this is exactly what is going to happen. If there is change in the current collegium system, if there is a fixed tenure for the Chief Justice of India, there's going to be politicizing of judiciary, which is ultimately going to break the grounds of judiciary. Also, I would like to talk about how discriminatory and how unfair the system would get. Like Mr. Ranjan Gogoi rightly said, there's already limited tenure for the justice of the Supreme Court. Even in that, if you put 2 years or 1 year, whatever the proposed amount of fixed tenure, there's going to be so much partiality, there's going to be so much discrimination for holding the office of Chief Justice of India. And like I said, how do you decide? Who is going to decide the credibility? Then why not let the seniority win over everything else? We cannot question the credibility of any justice of the Supreme Court. Many of my friends said that it will take time for the new Chief Justice to come, adjust, adapt. But my friends, we are forgetting that they've already been the part of the system. They already know the drill. They already know how the system works. And hence, it would not be very difficult, even if the tenure is small, it would not be very difficult for them to deliver proper judgments. Also, there is an argument that slow and steady wins the race. It's not the case always. When it's a simple equation, if you have seen a pressure cooker, the more the limited is the time, the more is the amount of productivity and the more is the amount of productive judgments that a Chief Justice of India is going to be able to deliver. And that is why we should always prefer quality over quantity, even in the judiciary. My next point would be, there are going to be different approaches to each and every case. And this is not a disadvantage, my friends. This is very much an advantage, because cases are going to have different approaches, different points of view. And that is why there's going to be more effective judgments once there is, there's no fixed tenure for the Chief Justice of India. Also, have we realized that there will be a loss of opportunity to many? For example, if the minimum age for a Chief Justice, minimum tenure is fixed at 2 years, and I am a Chief Justice, I'm a Justice in Supreme Court with 64 years of age, I can never, ever be able to complete the tenure of 2 years. Though I am credible enough, though I am experienced enough, I will never be able to take up the office of Chief Justice of India, and which is very unfair. My next argument would be, if at all you're changing this system, you also have to somehow raise the age of retirement. And again, this cycle will go, and again, the unfair practice of choosing the judiciary, the Chief Justice of India, will continuing. So I would just want to say that also there was an argument from the counterpart that the Chief Justice has to go around the country and meet the members of bar and bench. Friends, there is something called as delegation of work. There are people under the Chief Justice of India. So why not ask them for reports, read them, and in very limited point, deliver the most productive judgments. In the end, I would just like to say that at this point in time, in such crucial times, manipulation of judiciary is the last thing we want to see in the country. Thank you.
Both the teams may now cross-question each other, but remember, you have to answer within 1 minute. Team 114, please ask a question from your opponent.
Yes, so I have the question for the opponent who was speaking, that there should not be a
Excuse me, I cannot hear her.
Hello, am I audible?
Could you speak a little louder? I'm not wearing my earphones, so I'm not able to hear you properly.
Yes, ma'am, no problem. So you ended your speech saying that it is very discriminatory and unfair for having a fixed tenure. So I want to give you a situation where a Chief Justice is having only 28 days and the other Chief Justice is having 5 years. Isn't it discriminatory and unfair for the Chief Justice having longer years as a term? Also, ma'am, you mentioned that you kind of value seniority more than credibility. Do you think that seniority is just a convention? Do you agree the fact that seniority should be overpowered by credibility and merit?
Okay, may I answer?
Yes, ma'am.
And those are actually two questions. So, okay. The answer to your first question is, something is better than nothing. Now, you are telling me that 5 days and 5 years, a lot of difference. I get that. But imagine 5 years and 0 days. 0 days because that judge did not have enough time by his side, or the judge did not have enough time by her side. So she didn't get the opportunity to even be at the office for 1 day. So something is better than nothing. That should answer your first question. Your second question was about credibility and experience. So right now, we don't have a method to check credibility or merit of a judge. The only merit is that he or she has the most experience in the Supreme Court as a judge. That itself shows his or her credibility. The experience here is equal to his credibility because we do not have any other option or any other method as of now. So I think that should answer your question, both your questions.
111, please ask the question from your opponent team.
Yeah. I would be asking the question on behalf of team 111. My question is that you said it is unconstitutional. The practice that we follow right now is unconstitutional. Whereas there is no basis of that, because there is no proof that this practice that we follow right now, promotion on the basis of seniority, is unconstitutional. Don't you think it will be unconstitutional if we snatch away the opportunities from the most experienced judges who were to become the chief justices of India, if we snatch the opportunity from them by bringing a minimum tenure, don't you think that will be in real that would be really unconstitutional rather than a simple practice that is being followed right now?
No, ma'am, I totally disagree to the point that bringing a tenure will be unconstitutional, because it is the basic fact that we are not, I did not touch the fact of increasing the age limit, because that was not the topic. I rather just stuck with the topic. So I personally believe that the fixing of tenure goes in hand with the increasing of the retirement age, because we should not forget the laws are decades ago. Today, the life expectancy of a person is increased much more due to the medical advances than it was the years ago. So I feel it is definitely not unconstitutional. I feel it is more efficient and constitutional, because we are having a discipline to the system, not just on the base of seniority, but a discipline of fixed tenure has been followed. So I think that should answer your question.
Okay. Any of the judges willing to ask any questions from any of the teams?
I would like to ask a question from teams of both the speakers. First, the speaker of team 111 can reply to it. My question is that when the term of the Prime Minister or the Defense Minister or the Chief of the Army Staff, who are the policy makers of the country, is not fixed, then what is the purpose in fixing a tenure for the Chief Justice whose works are only administrative in nature?
Okay, I would like to answer that question by saying that, sir, it has been shown, it is a historical record that when the judges get a shorter tenure, they are not able to fulfill their responsibilities at a
I think that's
This is not clear. Your voice is not clear. Reset your voice. You may check your speaker.
Can I switch off my video? Maybe that will help.
Yes, you can.
Okay. So my point was that yeah, it is a historical record that when the Chief Justice of India gets a shorter tenure, and like an absurd tenure of 17 days. What could he do in a period of 17 days? Judicial reforms require a long period, and it is in a structure like ours, where cases take a long time. It is impossible to make a change or contribute towards the judicial society. And like it's also like I gave an example of Justice S. Rajendra Babu, who had a tenure of near 29 days, and he could not perform to his fullest capabilities. And another Chief Justice, Palanami Sadasimham, also expressed his concerns. Okay.
Speaker from second team.
Sir, I had a little network glitch. Can you please repeat the question? Sorry. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Sir, I had a little network glitch. Can you please repeat like just the main of the
Okay,
part of the
my question was my question was, when the term of the prime minister, the defense minister, or the chief of the army staff, who are the policy makers, is not fixed, then what is the purpose of fixing the tenure of a chief justice who is not a policy maker, whose powers are only administrative in nature? What would be the purpose?
uh, Sir, I think that Prime Minister's tenure is fixed of 5 years, if my facts are
No,
right.
no, he can be removed, na. Prime minister can be removed.
Sir, even the Chief Justice can be removed, sir. Sir,
No,
like
no,
there.
no. That prime minister
Okay,
can
sir.
resign or prime minister can be removed. No confidence motion can be brought against him. There are so
Yes,
many things, na.
sir. Also, I would like, because I've researched about it, I think even the Chief Justice can be impeached by 2/3 majority of the Parliament, and also he can resign by himself. So, about answering the question why it has to be fixed, I feel, sir, there are several instances in the history which support the fact that the lesser the tenure of a chief justice, we cannot really compare his efficiency, sir. This is the main point. We cannot say one chief justice is better than the other because we're not merely considering the time period. Rome wasn't built in a day. It requires time to do great things. So here, when we're fixing a certain tenure, we're giving certain discipline to this whole thing, and I feel it increases the credibility. So because of the
Okay, 1 minute is
previous
over,
history.
speaker.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So participants, you have been talking about the judicial reforms which the Chief Justice of India has to undertake if he has a fixed tenure. So my question is how judicial reforms are just the responsibility of the Chief Justice of India. It is for the whole judiciary as an institution that we are looking for judicial reforms. It's not just the Chief Justice of India. So how you can take the argument that it's the Chief Justice of India who needs time to undertake various judicial reforms? Because all the other judges are equally equally capable and almost equally capable, and they hold that status of being the judge of Supreme Court of India. All the judges are responsible for bringing the judicial reforms, not just Chief Justice of India.
So, ma'am, I would like to answer the question. Ma'am, Chief Justice of India is the justice, as I can put it in the simplest term, the leader of the group. We are always going to hold the leader accountable and not the group, ma'am. If the leader leads, the group leads. So here I want to say that Chief Justice is at certain pedestal, who is highest in the rank of all the judges because he is the Chief Justice. And
judiciary as an institution is different from Council of Minister as an institution. It's not the Prime Minister and the Council of Minister we are talking about.
sure, ma'am, I agree to this point, ma'am, definitely. But then, by the mere fact that we have a Chief Justice and then we have the senior judges, I think the whole ranking does exist in the judiciary, ma'am. I might be wrong, but I think the ranking does exist because we have the rank as Chief Justice of India. I think it is because of certain powers and responsibilities given rather than just the senior judges. So I think, ma'am, the power exists, but then the rank also exists.
Ma'am, I would also like to answer the question. The Chief Justice of India holds the most power. He decides the appointment, like he is responsible for the allocation of cases and the appointment of constitutional benches, which deals with important matters of law. He is the one who leads the bench, who leads the Supreme Court judges of India. And I believe that he should have a minimum fixed tenure because that is essential to fulfill his responsibilities to the fullest of his capabilities. I think that would answer your question.
Any more questions? Okay.
Would you like to ask any question? It's a final round, so your question is very much required.
Okay, fine. That if question is required, then I have only one point to query, that if minimum tenure is fixed, then what will happen to Article 124? Can anybody would like to answer? If minimum tenure is fixed for 3 years, then what will be constitutional validity of Article 124?
In fact, ma'am, I have an addition to what you just said. There's also a provision in Article 124 which has not been revoked as of now, but then even if a judge thinks that he needs an extension beyond his tenure for a case that's pending, for example, if it had been done in Ayodhya, if Ranjan Gogoi needed some more time for the Ayodhya case, I think there's an extension available, provision available for extension in Article 124. So if something like this happened, the entire provisions and the Article 124 will be null and void.
Extension can be for 3 or 4 years.
No, ma'am. I was saying this in your favor that.
No, I know you're saying in my favor, but I want to know that can extension.
No, not extension. In for a particular case, if he requires, for example, Ranjan Gogoi completed in 39 days. If required 1 or 2 more days or a week for say, he could have revoked that.
Okay. This question was basically for speaker 1 of both the teams.
That's why I didn't answer. I agree to your point that Article 124 exactly, it is the basis, and therefore we cannot have a minimum tenure because we have to work according to the Constitution. We cannot just do anything that we want. So I'm in the favor of that.
Ma'am, I would like to answer this question. I would like to say that there has been a debate about increasing the retirement age of the judge of the Supreme Court as well. And Article 124 talks about how he should retire after attaining the age of 65 years. But the Constitution is entirely silent on the tenure for the office of Chief Justice of India. And I believe that with fixing a minimum tenure, there should also be an increase in the retirement age. That is currently 65 years. It should be increased.
Okay.
I agree to the point that I agree with you that Article 124, but I think it will lose its whole credibility if the tenure is fixed. But I think, ma'am, there are a lot of instances where we have amended our constitution. So the laws were made decades ago, and as my opponent just mentioned, it goes in hand with the increasing of the retirement age, ma'am. So I think we have to consider the present day scenario and have to take judgments or have to take amendments in the light of today's day. So I think amendment of Article 124 might definitely be possible, and I think it is necessary on the whole basis because of this deliberation has been done. So I agree that it will lose its credibility, but then it can be amended. That's what our constitutional fathers have made. Amendment of the constitution is possible.
Okay.
Thank you, too. Simran, please take over the ending.
Thank you so much, judges and the participant teams. Both the participant teams have performed exceptionally well. And here we are done with the final rounds of this competition, War of Words, a first edition of National Online Debate Competition. The result of this round will be declared in the validity session, which is going to be held at 4 p.m. today. Till then, thank you once again.
Thank you all.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The link for the session at 4 would be the same.
Yes. The link would be the same.
Shall we leave this session right now?